Alright everybody, welcome back to Street City Studio. I'm John. Today we're going to talk a little bit about forced perspective. I was actually going to shoot this video today down at the park, but when I walked down there, there was a lot of people and they were unloading a small bulldozer to do some sort of minor construction, and I was like, nope, let's go back to the studio and do this at home. So here we are. We're going to do this at the desk indoors today. But like I said, I wanted to talk a little bit about forced perspective and perspective in general a little bit too. And so what is forced perspective? I think a lot of us have at least a layman's understanding of what forced perspective is. But forced perspective is basically an illusion where you create the illusion of scale, right? Where you take something small, like an action figure, for example, and make it convincingly, or attempt to make it convincingly look to scale, 1:1, instead of 1:118, whatever. You're basically trying to blur the line of scale, right? And a lot of this has to do with location, distance, right? Where's your viewpoint, and how is your perspective interacting, right? And so a simple example, right? A real simple example. I'm going to bring in Juggernaut here, right? And now this Juggernaut figure is not very tall. And I personally think of Juggernaut as being very tall. But also, I am not very tall. I am a short guy, even amongst short guys. So with me being almost as tall as Juggernaut here, that's a problem for any kind of picture I want to take. If I'm in the scene with Juggernaut, I have to reconcile this size issue, right? And so one easy way to do that would be to pull Juggernaut forward a little bit, right? And when you do that, you can create the illusion of a bigger Juggernaut, right? And Juggernaut starts looking bigger. And now, when you get into the fine, or the advanced photography stuff, you get into things like f-stops and ISOs, and we're not going to talk a lot about all that because I don't prefer to think of it in those terms, and it gets confusing when you start thinking about aperture and isometric ratios and stuff. I don't like to think about that stuff when I'm shooting. I just like to look at it, make a decision if I like it or not. If I don't like it, I make some adjustments, right? If I don't like that Juggernaut, and especially a lot of these cameras now, these automatic shooting modes pretty much cover everything. You don't need to understand all of that like you used to, right? No, not a lot of us. I'm sure some of us are shooting on manual, but in RAW, but a lot of us tend to shoot right in auto mode, so I don't think that's a big issue. But it can help your focus when you get into the more advanced applications. But for simplicity, we're just going to shoot on auto and talk about it like we're shooting on auto. But besides pulling him forward, there's other ways to go about it as well, like a stage, right? I'm going to use these Fortnite blocks here, for example. I can create a real decent stage here for him to stand on, but that's gonna put him right way too tall for what I'm doing here. Let's find something maybe that's better for this. Here, bring this focus back down here. Let me pull this out. And for example, I got this. That's just a little extra height we can give him. Alright. As long as it's out of the shot, right? You're not looking at his feet. I just gave him a good foot. Alright. See what I'm talking about? Just little tricks to create that illusion that he's that much bigger, right? And likewise, like I said, you can bring him to the front, bring him a lot closer to the camera, and he's gonna look a lot bigger. Right? And it hides how tall he may or may not be. Right? And you can kind of line them up wherever you're comfortable with. He's a little shaky because I'm just holding them, but if I stand him on something, you get the point. Stand him on something. Right. And now this doesn't just apply to, right, juggernaut, for example. This can apply to anything and everything, right? Okay, here I got a box, right? I'll take these boxes I got, right? If I'm putting that box right next to him, you can see just a little taller than his knees. But if I want that box, say I need a bigger box next to him, right? I can always pull it forward a bit, stand it up on something here, right? And pull it forward. Now that box looks like a crate, right? As big as him. Put him behind it. Look, he's almost gone. See? Let's take this baby T-Rex, for example. I have other T-Rexes, but let's say this is the only one fits in my pocket to go to the park with, right? That was kind of the idea of the video earlier, right? If I can pull him up to the camera here, make it look like I got a fuller sized dinosaur in front of him. Let me move him so you can still see him. You get what I'm saying, right? Right? Look at that. There you got a full-size dinosaur. And you can even push him back a little to make him look smaller. Alright, see? And I think that applies to what we're doing here. This kind of photography, I think it really makes a difference because that's what we're doing. We're trying to put these toys into pictures that makes them look real. Alright guys, that about wraps it up though. I appreciate you joining me, having this little conversation. Keep playing with them toys. I'll talk to you soon.